folks. Good evening, it is, of course, and it's good morning for Frankie, who's sitting on the sidelines waiting for us to come and join us. But this interview was basically kind of had to happen because there's been a lot of questions in the last couple of interviews with the guys that we're taking over, that are going over to England to race the Brisca F1 Stockcar final. A lot of questions come up about how Speedway actually works in England and also what they have to do, the criterias and all that sort of stuff. So instead of mucking around trying to get hearsay and bits and pieces, we thought we'd get it from one of the top men from the country that is an absolute superstar when it comes to racing, both in England and here in New Zealand as well. His name's Frankie Wainman. We'll get him on very, very shortly. And the other thing we want to do is catch up with Frankie, have a good chat about his career so far. So I really appreciate the time that he's taken out to come and join me on this interview, even though we couldn't get his video to go. That's why we're running a bit late, but that's okay. Righto, so let's not muck around and introducing Frankie Wainman. Hey, mate, thank you very much for jumping on board and having a chat to us, eh?
Morning, are you all right?
Oh, just another day at the office, or another night at the office, a day for you, just to start, 9 o'clock in the morning there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yep.
Righto, so Frankie, one of the reasons we got you on, like I've just said, we had a few of our guys that we've interviewed that are heading over to do the Brisca F1 World Stockcar Final. And there was a lot of people asking about questions about colours on wings and all that sort of stuff. So you don't you don't call Speedway what we call Speedway here. Speedway to you is it's the bikes and stuff like that, whereas yours is outright stock car racing, isn't it?
Yeah, just stock car racing, yes, yeah. So Speedway, like you said, is the bikes and just the two-wheel stuff, yeah.
Now, it's also not like us where we have a governing body. You guys are basically just individuals that you just rock up to a track at whatever event. How does that all work for you guys?
They're very similar in that way. We have a governing body. Brisca, we're run by Brisca. Obviously, the BSCDA, we have a drivers' committee which basically looks after the rules on the cars and looks after all the drivers. It's been going a lot of years now. It's very strong, so we have a good say in what actually happens and the drivers' welfare, which is good. I've been on there a lot of years myself, and we try and keep costs down a bit and try and look after the cars and the drivers.
But how do you establish your meetings? Is it a bit like New Zealand? They have promoters and stuff, and they invite you to come along to a meeting, or how does it all work?
Yeah, we have a BMB, which is the drivers group, and the promoters. They all come along, and we all just meet up, and it's all very year on year. It's all very similar. To be fair, if a new track comes along, they'll come to Brisca and ask if they can be involved, and then we all look at it and whether we can run there. Like we went back up to Scotland again this year on a guest invitation and stuff like that. We raced at Knockhill this year, so we do race at different tracks, and obviously, we have quite a good relationship with the promoters, and obviously that's what keeps the sport as strong as it is.
How many tracks do you guys have over there? Like, is it as many as we've got here?
No, I suppose we would have a lot of tracks. I mean, some of our tracks aren't established for Brisca Formula One. There's a lot of smaller tracks, like what you call club tracks, I suppose. But I think we probably have 10 or 12 tracks for race, I would have thought.
Oh, yeah, so it's probably around about the same for that type of stock car racing. Yeah, I think we've got 24 tracks registered here, but not all of them race stock cars, obviously. So so tell us, this Brisca F1 World Finals, the bee's knees when it comes to racing for our guys, because obviously they make the attempts to go over there and race it. What do you guys have to do to get into that? And because you get seeded, don't you? And this is where the wing colours and all that sort of stuff come into place as well. So can you give us a bit of a breakdown about how that all works?
Yeah, okay. So obviously we have like a grading system which is in place every season and keeps rolling from season to season. So obviously when you start racing, you start as a white top, and then as you score points in the grading system, you then proceed to yellow top, then obviously to blue, then to red, and then the top one, superstar. So we have, different roof colours, which shows people what grade you are within the sport. Obviously, the World Championship, we score qualifying points from October which is like just after the World Final this year, if you like. So for next year's World Final, we will start qualifying in October, and then that runs right through to kind of probably July, and then we have 2 races which are semi-finals. That seeds us onto a race. So we have to participate in a 1-race to give you a grid position for the World Final. So if we, like this year, I was top point scorer in all the qualifying rounds. I don't know how many qualifying rounds to do. There's probably quite a lot, probably 20 maybe. So I top the points in that. So then I start pole on my semi-final. But obviously, if I bombed out in that semi-final and didn't finish, I wouldn't be in the World Final. So it is quite a harsh.
It's a
cutthroat. You can work all season, and then something goes wrong in your semi-final and you're out. So obviously this year I qualified second, which puts me on what you call 3, second row inside, which is where I want to start the World Final. So yeah, that's how we qualify. And then obviously the overseas drivers, they are then seeded onto row 3, 6, 9, and 12 in the grid, and they will perform on a time trial on either the day before the meeting or at the meeting. They will have a time trial, and that will put them in their grid position for the World Final. So,
but if do they have a semi-final that they need to worry about, or are they automatically into the World Final?
No. They're invitation in, so they're definitely in. But they and like I said, they have chance of starting on number 5 and number 6, as you call it, which is third row inside and third row outside, and then so row 3, 6, 9, and 12. So they're actually invited through, and they don't have to qualify; that they're preceded.
That's crazy, eh? And of course, from there, like you said, if you go to a semi-final and you lose your semi-final, you're out. You don't get the chance to race in the World Final. And has that ever happened to you before? Like, have you been in that position before where you've been quite?
Yeah. I can't remember how many semi-finals. I think I've only missed 2 World Finals in my career, maybe. I had a prop shaft failure in one, I can't remember, maybe a gearbox in the other one. But, that's all it takes, a flat tyre, and you're out. You know what I mean? I can't remember. I think when I was world champion, if you win the World Championship, you are then preceded into next year's World Championship.
Straight away, so you don't have to qualify.
You don't have to qualify, but you start at the back. So you still need to qualify to get near the front.
Okay,
so you are in. Yep.
It's not a bad system when you think about it, because no disrespect to anybody, but you kind of weed out all the people that you don't have to worry about, because the guys that are there are the best of the best, aren't they? So you pretty much got so you don't have to worry about that whole is that guy that's bought a stock car to come and take me out, so you don't get into the World Final. That doesn't happen, because everybody's got the same goal. From what I understand, I've seen a little bit of racing. I've been obviously got quite involved over the last probably 3 or 4 months and watching Brisca and watching your style of stock car racing and stuff like that. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of hitting, but if there is, they're out to take someone out, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. The contact is, it's probably as hard as it is in New Zealand. It's just a slightly different contact. A lot of the contact in New Zealand is drivers like waiting and taking drivers out. We don't have any of that. We don't really allow that kind of thing. It's just racing contact. Our individual racing contact, there's probably a lot more of that than there is in New Zealand. But we don't have people waiting to take people out.
Doesn't happen, eh? So it's sort of almost like a gentleman's agreement type scenario, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's how our sport's evolved. Your sport has evolved totally different to that. Whereas you go out and somebody will wait and take you out. That's part of what we do. I learned that straight away when I got to New Zealand, and that was a different scenario, and it was exciting to get involved with. A different sort of aspect of the racing.
Probably a bit harder on the body too, Frankie, to be fair. So, and of course, you don't really have any teams racing, or that's the likes of what we have in New Zealand either. So, and you guys send a good bunch of guys over here to have a crack at that. And you've got, I think you got the fan. You're a fan favourite, but it's not something that it's sort of kind of alluded just at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, it's kind of hard for our drivers to come over and adapt so fast. Like I said, in New Zealand, when you sit back and watch the racing, and you watch the drivers. I've been coming over for a lot of years now. Your drivers adapt the kind of team racing style into their racing as soon as they start racing. So they're doing it week in, week out. It becomes like a second nature. Whereas in England, we don't do that. So when we come to racing the teams, it's a completely different mindset. So not only do you have to physically adapt, you have to mentally adapt to what you're about and what you're supposed to do. We have a really good team. We've had a lot of different team drivers come over with us, and a lot of hard drivers from UK have come over, and they just don't like it. They don't like the way the team racing works. They can't mentally adapt to it. We have a lot of stuff on social media over here, which, about people who should be in the team. This person should be in that. They physically can't do it and mentally can't adapt to it. It's not all about how good you are in the UK or how many world championships you've won or how many races you've won. It's about mentally adapting to teams racing. And that is a massive, massive different thing to what we do in the UK.
The other thing too, though, and that going back the other way too, it's very difficult for our guys to adapt to your style of racing as well, because that mentality is hit, and that's not what you guys are about, and that's why probably a lot of our guys that go over there struggle quite a bit. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. And over the years, I'm looking after Lyle Rumney when he came over in '95, and it was trying to mentally coach him to race the car. He raced on tarmac when he raced in the UK. He raced at Ennisford. We took him for a full day practicing on a tarmac track and said to him, look, just drive around the track, don't burn your tyres out, just look after your tyres, drive on the track. And he ended up, I think he finished fourth or something, and it was absolutely brilliant. But it's mentally adapting to that one race. They've got one race. It's not like in New Zealand where you've got 3 races in the 240s. If one race you finish 6th or 7th, you're all right. You need to win the World Championship. You've physically got to be first car across the line.
Yeah. If for example, a Kiwi is quite successful, is in that sort of top 3 places, is there a sort of like an agreement with all you guys to make sure that he doesn't get across the line in a podium position, or is it just just as good an opportunity as what, say, you would have?
No, absolutely. That's down to him completely. Nobody would wait for him. Nobody would take him out. They would just race properly. We have a lot of respect for the drivers who come over here. They're coming over to try and win our World Championship. We're not going to make it easy for them. We're going to in a racing scenario. But if that driver outdrives you and physically beats you and gets up on that podium or even wins it, then, that's absolutely superb for him.
A couple of wee questions that have just popped up. We've got quite a lot of people watching Frankie with us. Aaron Ryan's asked, what's the age limit on cars there? When can you start racing?
16. At 16 years old, we can go straight out of mini stocks. So our mini stocks is 11 to 16. As soon as they finish mini stocks, they can go straight into F1s. We had a lad last week who come out of mini stocks and raced in Holland on his few days after his 16th birthday and won a few races over there. He was really good. So yeah, he was straight into the adult formula. When you win the world final, you have a different roof cover too, don't you? A different colour. Yeah, what colour's that one? Yeah, gold. Yeah, the World Championship wing's gold. Yep.
Yeah, I think Charlie Saunders brought that over here and run it on.
He ran it he did. And obviously, the National Points Championship, that's a silver wing. We have the British Championship wing, which is black and white, checkered, and obviously the European, which is yellow and red checkered. So yeah, we have roof colours for those championships as well. Yeah.
When you think about it, it's not a bad idea, because it really tells you what sort of when you're coming up on a car, you kind of know what sort of level they're at and who they are. So you could have you wouldn't necessarily go and wipe them out. Well, you wouldn't anyway, because it's not your mentality. See, I'm thinking like a New Zealand super stock person, but yeah, I mean that's basically a really good idea, isn't it? Somebody else asked here. Sorry, Frankie. Somebody else asked here about something about flashing lights on cars. Do you have flashing lights on cars as well?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So obviously the red tops, we have 16 red tops, and then the top 4 in the country at the time, they have flashing lights on, which are then called superstars. Like, I've been a superstar since I started racing, basically, so nearly 40 years. So yeah, it's something I'm quite proud of doing. Yeah.
40 years, bugger me. That's a long time, Frankie. The old body still. Oh, I suppose it's all right over there, but it's when you come. It's when you come. How many times have you been to New Zealand? Because you've been coming to New Zealand for a lot of those times as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've wrestled in New Zealand a lot of times. I don't actually know how many times it is. I'd have to add it up, or somebody will add it up for me, I'm sure. But yeah, no, I absolutely love the racing in New Zealand. Like, just heading back to what you were saying about coming up on cars, that's something I did not struggle with, but it was different for me. So when I came to New Zealand, obviously for the first time, and I got out on that track, and I'm looking for cars who obviously are going to be trying to win the championship with me, the top drivers, and because they're not like seeded in grade colours, I was kind of having to pick them out as individuals, if that makes sense, and look at where they are. And like I said, that was a difference for me when I raced in New Zealand. Yeah, trying to find out who the top men are and who I had to sort of look after and beat. And yeah.
It's all about gaining friends in New Zealand, isn't it? I mean, you got to try and get on with as many. I mean, a lot of people respect the fact that you come out but I've done a few World 240s and bits and pieces like that. If you ever get up there, the first thing they do is they've just got that mentality to make sure that you don't go home with another title, because you've won the 240s before, haven't you?
Yeah, I've won it 3 times, yeah. Obviously, you can be as friendly as you like in New Zealand, but when it comes to that final race, if you're a pom, you're going to get taken out. You're not going to get looked after. Not at all. I did a lot of racing. So in the 2000s, I came over and did quite a lot of meetings one season. Really enjoyed it. Ran the tour down south with everybody, and when I built the car and everything. And obviously that was sort of my best time over there, I would have thought, because I think a lot of drivers over there accepted the fact that I'd built the car and spent a lot of time to come over to do a season with you all and do me. And it was absolutely superb. It's something that I was very proud of doing. Yeah.
Somebody was saying here too, Frankie, just going back a little bit about the grading there. See here, Superstars, top 6 graded drivers start right at the back for the World Final. And then you've got to obviously progress those 6 drivers. Is that correct?
Only in normal races, yeah, not in the World Final. Like I said, in the World Final, you qualify on your semi-final position. So obviously, whatever position you get in that semi-final, which is kind of tactical as well, because you don't have to win your semi-final. Wherever you decide you want to start in that World Final, you can try and do that in your semi-final if you want to come second. So you're starting on 3 instead of 1. There's different ways of looking at it like that. As long as you get in that top 10, you're qualified through.
Okay, other comments coming through. Hey, Frankie, you won the Brisca World Final in 1998. Is it true that Stan Hickey assisted you by tangling with an early leader, John Lund, to allow you to win?
Yeah, Stan did tangle with John Lund, but I didn't think he meant to do it at all. It was just a racing incident. And obviously, because our cars are so open wheel compared to New Zealand, the back wheels are totally open.
Yeah, see there. It's weird.
Yeah, that is something that New Zealand drivers have to learn to adapt to, because obviously you can get flat tyres. You've got to be a little bit careful, and you can get tangled up on the back wheel, which is what Stan and John did, yeah.
Some really intelligent people here. Another one said also races car called Samantha at Dunedin, New Zealand champs, finished in the top 5. There you go. Some people are telling us some stories.
Yeah, and obviously I raced when I started the New Zealand's in Palmerston, and that when Jared Wade took me out, obviously.
Yeah, somebody just said that too, yeah.
On for a bit. Yeah, it was an absolutely superb time. I really enjoyed it. Even though I got taken out, it was just to be part of that, and to be so close to winning it, to have somebody to take me out. You know what I mean? It's a different entity to my racing, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Yeah,
I see your iPhone struggling a wee bit with service there. Somebody actually just said that Frankie was in with a chance to winning the New Zealand Superstock Championships at Palmy, was taken out by Jared Wade. So let's talk a bit about the cars, because there's a remarkable difference between your stock cars and our super stocks, which is basically the equivalent. So what's the most notable, because you obviously got a good insight to both those cars, what's the biggest things that you can kind of tell us that are the differences?
Well, basically the two formulas have always been obviously adapted, but our engines are totally open. So we can have up to 700-800 horsepower if we want. but the cars are very limited on suspension, brakes, things like that. Your cars, obviously, your engines are limited, but then your chassis are totally open on shockers, suspension, brakes, stuff like that. So obviously, lap time wise, they're probably not far off each other, I wouldn't have thought.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the scenario of like your chassis are better, but our engines are better, if that makes sense. So it's just a different way of looking at it. And obviously, as things have developed over the years, that's the way the racing stops. And like I said, the open wheel of what we do is a slightly different racing style to the closed back wheel of what's in New Zealand.
Mm. So because some of the engines, they get up to like 500 plus cubic inches over there, don't they? Frankie's
Oh,
like,
yeah, not 600. We're up, some lads still run big blocks, which, the big 600 cubic inch engines. So, yeah, definitely.
That's crazy, isn't it? So you said yourself that you've been racing now for 40 years. Is there still much left for you, Frankie? Have you still got it in the old body and the system and the mind and stuff to carry on?
Yeah, absolutely. Next year's my 40th season. So I'm looking forward to that. I've always said over here, everybody, it's just a standing, laugh with all the other drivers, the young drivers especially, what I mean, that I am a lot older than them. But, when it comes to them championship wins, I'm usually in there with a fight. And obviously, while ever I'm enjoying my racing, I've always said the day I stop going out on that track is the day I'll stop enjoying it. So, yeah, I'm up for, like I say, I'm on 3 for this year's World Championship, and I'm not going to take no prisoners. It's, I want to win more World Championships. I'm still keen to win. That's the only reason I do all this. Obviously, my son Frankie, Phoebe's having a little bit of time out at the minute, but my son Frankie's concentrating on his tarmac car this year.
Mm-hmm.
He has actually qualified 5th in the World Final from near the back in his semi-final draw. Absolutely brilliant, the books in his new tarmac car. So we're putting the Michelle car together for the World Final. So yeah, I'm enjoying working with him a little bit, and he has his own ideas, which is absolutely superb. I'll help him and push him however I can. And the fact he's interested and wants to try something different and do something different is absolutely superb. I love that. All my career I've always built cars myself and tried to do things different to gain an edge, just to try things. And you need to see that. The sport's evolved a little bit now. There's a lot of drivers that try and buy trophies and stuff, which I'm not down with that at all. I prefer them to be hard out and do the work and build the cars themselves and get out on track. There's no more satisfaction than actually winning a race in a car you built yourself. It's something that I hold close to my heart. Yeah.
So somebody asked the question before, which style of racing do you prefer? Do you prefer the English style, and you knew this was coming, the English style of racing, or do you prefer the Kiwi style of racing?
If I'm honest, I love them both. I love the difference when I come to New Zealand, and like I said, it's a different mindset. When you go out in that third race at the 240s, you've got to try and think about what cars are doing what, who's doing what, who you've actually got to be. Because when it's in a point system like they run the 240s and the New Zealand, all the championships in New Zealand, you don't have to physically win the race. You just have to outscore the person who you with points on, you know what I mean? So you've kind of got to look after that rather than trying to win the race. And sometimes you've got to settle for second or third, which will give you enough points to win it, which is kind of a different mindset again. But no, I love them both, to be honest. I do, and I've enjoyed every race I've done in New Zealand. It's been absolutely superb. So yeah.
What if you could build a car and took the best bits out of the Kiwi car and the best bit out of the stock as your stock cars? What bits would you take, and what is there really good bits out of the Kiwi cars and really good bits out of your cars?
Yeah, I suppose there is really your back axles and everything like that, the quick change stuff. It's all, a lot better than what we use because we're only allowed normal axles and normal rear diffs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's each car's been developed for each country, hasn't it? And obviously, we push as much as we can and do as much as we can in each country. So, like I said, I've built a car for New Zealand, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I built the engine and everything over here. and like I say, I won a 240s championship in that car. So again, that's something that I'm absolutely mega proud of in the fact that I did that back then. Yeah.
Mm. So, yes, what do you actually do for a living for those people so over in England, what is your day job?
We build race cars and look after race cars for people. Obviously, we've diversified a little bit nowadays. I do a lot of experience days for people at Skegness Stadium. Me and my son set up with 4 cars, and we go to Skegness every couple of weeks for a couple of days, and people get the experience of driving an F1 stock car, and we teach them how to do it. And it's been very, very popular over here. Every session's booked out within hours, and it's given a lot of people an insight into what we do, and me and Frankie absolutely love it. And obviously, we've had drivers starting up from it and buying cars from it, so it is working from that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been absolutely superb, yeah.
We might just go through. There's a bloody heap of questions flying past here too, so I've got to try and sort of balance it up between my questions and their questions. So let's just have a wee look. I've just got to scroll back a wee bit there. What do we got? One of my favourite liveries was Frankie's 55R car he built. Who ended up with that car?
I sold it to Wayne Talbot, and then it went to Huntley.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's still at Huntley. I'm not 100% sure who's still got it, but it went to Huntley, yeah, and it was kind of, last time I saw it, it was very original as I left it. Basically, I had a good look round it, and it was still as I had left it very much, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Paul Joseph asked, will you ever come to the South Island to race any tracks down here? And actually further down, somebody said it would be good to see you guys, a couple of you guys fronting up for the Battle of the Stocks type meeting, but that's probably getting a bit late for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, to be fair. There was talk of doing a South Island tour with, I think it was with Peter Reese maybe a couple of years ago, last year.
Yeah.
But it is kind of hard because we have to use that time to get prepped for next season for us over here, you see. Obviously, we can't just miss a complete season, otherwise we just wouldn't be ready for the next season. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A Stratford competitor, Neville Molly, raced against a Brisca car built here at Stratford. I think the Brisca car beat the Superstock. There's some useless information for you. Yeah, Karen, yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, that'll be the car that Clive Linton, Robert Linton built, which is still racing over here. Very competitive car over here now. He had a race over there with it before he shipped it over. Yes, he did. Yeah.
Where have we got? I'd love to see the Great Britain boys compete at the Battle of Stocks. That was Kerry Remnant said, "Where's your coffee, Frank?" He's got one. There it is.
There it is.
Never disappoints, hey? Is there any difference between shale and tarmac cars? Because obviously you guys race both, don't you? And you race in all conditions, is that correct?
Yeah, we do, yeah. If it rains, we just carry on and get wet. So, unfortunately, yes. There is a slight difference. You can use the same car, but the shale cars are obviously they have a bit more rear weight. The suspension slightly longer on the travel, bits like that. The brakes are slightly set different. It is possible to adapt one car to do both with quite a lot of alterations between. But a lot of drivers now tend to just stick with one car for shale and one car for tarmac. Do
you do both? Do you race both of them? Like, are you? Is it something?
Yeah. Yes.
And you obviously have two separate cars as well, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously like probably a third of our season will be on tarmac. I would have thought 2/3 on shale. So obviously some of the championships are on tarmac. So obviously, yeah, if you're going to seriously do all the meetings and compete in everything properly, then you need an out-and-out tarmac car. Yeah.
I hope you get Palmy Team's first place before retirement, icing on the New Zealand cake, an absolute legend, Frankie. Somebody's just saying. Let's talk about teams racing. I mean, that is something that is right, left wing for you guys. I mean, when you first got introduced to teams racing, what did you think? You must have thought, what the is going on here?
Yeah, that is exactly what I thought, to be honest. Obviously, as a driver and a car builder, and then I was involved with some really good teams back then, Stanicky and Sonia, and obviously you spend all that money and all that time building a beautiful car and racing it, and then you go to teams and do that with it. And it just blew my mind completely. It really did. And then obviously, as you get involved with it, and the atmosphere of teams and the respect between the drivers, even in teams, it's just probably the biggest event in the world. And you get using the cars on the line for it. You get that. It is a little aspect that the GB team struggle a little bit with, because obviously we don't want to smash the cars over that. The ones that we're getting leased and the ones we use. It's kind of a little bit. You don't want to just smash them cars to pieces and just leave them for people. It's not. It's not a thing we're sort of happy with, but when you see what the teams drivers in New Zealand do with their cars, and then you just think, Jesus. But yeah, no, it's probably one of the most exciting things I've been involved with. The atmosphere, the finals. We've been in finals. You got to remember that, and obviously, if it had flipped the other way, it's just a look in that final. You've got to have the look on the day. Like I say, that would be the icing on the cake for me to win that. But even to be involved with it every year with my son now, who's probably become one of the best blockers in New Zealand, I think he stepped up, and that's what he wants to do, and he concentrates and works on that. Years ago, your block man was probably just a regular driver in a slow car who would take people out, but nowadays it can be any of the team, and they've got to know exactly what they're doing, read the race, read what cars they need to take out, and it's a very important role. Yeah.
How do you prepare? Some of the guys you brought over. I mean, you brought the Dutch boys over and stuff like that. How do you actually prepare them? What do you say to them? Hey, look, let's go to New Zealand and stuff some stuff up, eh? Like, I mean,
it's the only thing we've ever done. We've sent them lots of videos and said, watch the videos and read what you're doing. For a lot of years, I've had a lot of choice in who goes and who doesn't, and you've kind of got to look at drivers. The most important part for me, for a team's driver from the UK, they've got to be able to take a hit. Now, that might be a stupid thing to say, or I don't really know how to explain it, but when you're racing with somebody and you put them in the wall, you then got to be able to take that hit the next corner. If they're still going, you've got to be able to take that hit the next corner. Anybody who can't do that doesn't want to be in teams. And it's a telling fact in the UK. You can tell the drivers that can do that and the drivers that don't want to do that. And that, like I say, we've had a lot of variation in drivers who've come over, and some of the best drivers I've had in the teams have sort of never won anything championship-wise over here, and never been mega successful, if you like. You don't have to be a superstar in the UK to be one of the best teams drivers. I mean, that's totally. If you look at the history of the teams in New Zealand, you've got the teams drivers. Your block man who takes people out might never have won anything else in New Zealand, but he's probably the best block man you'll ever have in your team. And it's hard to find those in the UK, because obviously we don't race that kind of racing.
Not only do you need to be able to take a hit, but you've also got to teach them how to give a hit too, eh? Anybody can drive something into something, but there's a technique. You've got to be able to do it without taking yourself out at the same time. Teams is very calculated, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. Like I say, it's a lot harder than when you're taking cars up the wall, when you're taking shots at cars. You've got to do it in a way where you've got to carry on, and there is an art to it, and it's something that we're working on very hard. We've tried to keep the same team together the last few years, and I think we're doing okay at it. I really do.
We all think you're awesome. I mean, obviously you've got it's a bit like, they say that when the Kiwis go to England, there's always a good band of people that will stick by them, and it's the same here with you guys. You have a lot of fans. No one wants you to really win, but they do want you to win, if you know what I mean. It's just, crowd favourites, I think, is the word I'd use, eh?
Yeah, well, that was the one thing that swung it for me. The very first year we did it, it was playing on my mind quite a bit, that how we would be accepted in the teams. And obviously, I sat there on the grandstand in one of the races where I sat out, let one of the other lads go in, and the atmosphere for our team was just electric, and I thought, wow, they actually want us to be here. They want us to be part of this, and it was kind of an aspect that was a bit different for me, because obviously, everybody supports a team, but what you find is when you're against the team out there, every other person will support GB. It's really weird, and they just want us to do well. And obviously, like I said, the acceptance from everybody, including the drivers, was key in why we've kept coming back. Obviously, there's no animosity whatsoever with any part of it. They just love the fact that we come over there and take part and do what we do to entertain the crowd.
There'd be nowhere else that you would race that would have an atmosphere or be like what Palmy Teams is? It'd have to be the most unique event in the world, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I can only atmosphere teams. The atmosphere of the teams is very similar to winning a world final over here, if that makes sense. And that's just for an individual to win it. But over there, you've got the full teams, every team every night, and that atmosphere then carries on for 2 nights completely, and it's just absolutely unique.
Is there any chance that perhaps in the future that there could be some sort of teams racing set up in England, maybe not as brutal, but maybe to give people a chance to be able to learn how to block, how to put strategies, how to read a race even, because they're coming in pretty fresh, aren't they? And like you said, though, you've got a team that's been there or coming over for the last couple of years, so they'll be starting to get the hang of it now, I'd say, by now, wouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. The problem is we have done a few over here a few years ago, but our cars, with the back wheels being so open, it's so easy to take a car out straight in the back wheel. So they're not really designed for teams racing, if that makes sense. They're easy to stop if you want to do it on purpose. So I think that's kind of the hard side of it. So I don't think it'd really work unless you adapted some cars especially for the teams racing, which, is a massive outlay of money, and whether it'd take off as a crowd favourite, I'm not really sure.
The worst thing, though, if you hurt someone over there, you can be sued for it, can't you?
I'm not sure about that, but I hope not, because I've been hurt quite a few times and I've never had any money.
No, that's right. I'm just checking because apparently that's one of the reasons why Americans don't do it, is because if somebody gets hurt, not only can they sue the promoter, but they can sue the driver that hit them as well. Somebody said here that your daughter Phoebe, is she the UK champion?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she won the UK Open this year at Skegness. Like I said, she's having a couple of years out concentrating on her family. She's had Harry now, obviously. And that's fetched another different aspect to my racing, to be honest, with my grandson watching me. So, she did a couple of meetings earlier. I think it was in May. It was UK Open Championship, and she actually won that, which was absolutely superb weekend. It was just absolutely brilliant, yeah.
Sounds like the family are right into it and know exactly how to pedal one of those cars, eh? It's great. Frankie, better crack. Amanda Durrell says, "Hey Frankie, better crack on in the final. JJ's on your ass, pal." So obviously it'd be something you'd know about. Somebody else.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Renee Cooley said, "UK equivalent to the Rees is awesome ambassadors of the sport, so respected and the best." There you go. Got some nice comments coming for you, Frankie.
Thank you.
Your milestone next year in F1, be awesome to see you with the gold roof.
That's the plan. That is the plan. Obviously, to go into my 40th season as world champion, I thought it'd be something of dreams, wouldn't it? But I've put myself on 3 for the world final. Obviously, give myself the best chance, and we're just going to go for it. And if the luck's with me on the night, we'll hopefully take out the win.
It's interesting because no matter what car you've got, whether it's a New Zealand car or an English car, it doesn't matter where you are, luck still plays a massive part of the racing, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, 100%. It's a massive part of it. There's no point you could be in the fastest car in the world, but you get a flat tyre, you're out, you're gone. Your look's gone. You're not finishing. So obviously, yeah, it does play a big part of it. You do create your own look a little bit as well. Like I said, starting on 3 is where I wanted to be. I'm behind Tom Harris on the first corner. He's the fastest man over here at the minute. And he's obviously, he's in my hands to sort it.
Tom Harris' name was mentioned. What do you have to do to stop that guy? He seems to be the man that's on form.
Yeah, absolutely. He's at the top of his game at the minute. He's driving well. We both are. We're doing all right, and we have a lot of respect for each other. I've raced Tom a lot of years, and it's the other way. But like I say, it's one race, 25 laps. Fastest man gets the gold roof.
It's all this for one race, isn't it? Like your whole season basically comes down to this one race. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't get my mind around that.
Yeah, that again a different aspect for the Kiwis. It's something that when I started racing, I got bit quite a few times in the World Championship. Bad luck. I had the first one. I was leading for the full race, and I had an engine failure with 2 laps to go. And when I was sat there after that race, and I thought this isn't what I consider being the best thing. So obviously, our points championship, our national points championship, which I've won 14 times now, that was the way I did it, because that was like a full season. That was every meeting, hard out racing, every meeting, and that to me became more of a win than the World Championship. Like I said, the World Championship is everything for one race. 25 laps.
How many meetings do you do a year, Frankie, in your section?
Probably around 55, maybe, I suppose.
That's getting up
between,
there.
Between 45 and 55, yeah.
And then you come over to New Zealand and do however many here as well. You're bloody mad.
Over there, yeah. Yeah.
So 55R is now in Miami. Wayne Talbot sold it to Nigel Wilson, who was 17B, and then it was sold to Philip Glynn in Napier. So Philip Glynn's now got it. There you go. So everybody knows everything here. Scott Honeybone asks here, who's your most respected rival in the UK? Tom Harris would have to be, wouldn't it? After what you've just said.
Yeah, absolutely. At the minute, yeah. I mean, I've raced with the best drivers in the UK. I've been lucky enough to race with all my career, John Lunn, Pete Folding, just to name a few. But at the minute, obviously, it's Tom Harris. Tom's up there. Obviously, it's a bit weird for me because I watched him in mini stocks. I was involved in when he started racing the F1s, as a kid. And now, obviously, he's the top man. And it's it's a big respect we've got for each other. We had quite a few seasons of him, putting me in the fence and me putting him in the fence and taking each other out, and as you do. And, now we'll both do that now, that respect now. And obviously, last year's World Championship was probably one of the best races of the year. The last bender I did, and it just didn't come off. But I was the only one that was anywhere near him to take the fight to him. So yeah, Tom Harris, yeah.
So what makes his car so much better, or is it his driving style? What's given him the edge this year?
His will to win, I would have thought. His cars, he builds himself. He's done a lot of work himself, a lot of development work. He's a lot of racing in America. So he learns a lot of suspension stuff. And his cars are always dialed in nicely. But we're old as own. We're there or thereabouts. We've been doing all right this season. I've won one of the top final winners and such like. So like I said, I'm leading the points. So we're having a good season.
Good stuff. Shale or clay? What's your preferred?
I suppose shale, because we can use it when it's wet. The clay, obviously, you get a bit of water, a bit of rain down there, and it's game over. Because obviously in the UK that just doesn't work properly. In New Zealand you don't have that many rainouts, I don't suppose, in a season. But it's the fact that you can't race on it. If one of our shale tracks rains, we still can race, and you do get some good racing even in the rain. You can have some proper racing.
Yeah, it seems to be good weather until the major titles come up, Frankie, and then it all turns to shit not long after that, doesn't it? Somebody asked here, most respected rival in New Zealand. Do you have one?
They change so often in New Zealand. Obviously, I've had years with going back to Barry Hunter, Greg Boo. You couldn't use Scott Myers. The amount of times Scott Myers has tried to take me out of the 240s. But the respect is just massive. That Shane Penn.
The list goes
Think of
on.
drivers.
Yeah.
And he does. And now you Pete Reese. It just obviously we put Pete up in a car over here. And he was here for 5 or 6 weeks, so we got really close with Pete. And again, he performed really well over here, drove really well. Same as his lads did, yeah.
Somebody's just said here, I know you're a bit worried about when you leave the state of the cars, especially after teams racing and stuff like that. But the people that own those cars know damn well what's going to happen to them when you put them in a teams race, eh? So I kind of think that they understand that's what's going to be the scenario, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose, absolutely. But, I have provided a lot of cars over the years for drivers over here. I've tried to get good quality cars for your Kiwi drivers to come out, same as we are doing this year for Todd. So I know how hard it is from both sides of it. And if Todd wrecks that car, then we'll sort it. That's part of what we do. But the teams is a little bit more brutal in the fact that car could just end up in a scrap skip. So yeah.
Stu Russell here. He's saying, how convincing can you be to get Tom and Ryan back here in the lines? Tom is a weapon at teams, and Ryan's grown since his last teams raced.
Yeah, it goes back to your drivers. Obviously, we had Ryan in the team for a year, and he said he never wanted to do it again. So obviously, he bowed out. Tom obviously concentrates on America, and obviously he races in America when the teams are on, so he can't be in two places at once. So, like I said, it all depends on your driver. That if that driver doesn't want to do the teams and doesn't like the hits, then he won't be in the team.
Yeah. What else we got? Frankie, I was wondering, do other Brisca F1 competitors belong to teams like Waiman Racing, Team Harris Motorsport, etc.?
Yeah, we have a lot of localised people. Matt Newson does a lot of cars, and he has people with him. And obviously, it's not as a team in effect like they all race individual. The racing in England is all individual, but so obviously, but there is teams that take cars. Like Matt Newson always takes cars to meetings. We take cars to meetings, to try and keep the job going and keep drivers coming in.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you have wheel guards? Somebody asks. Why don't they put them on there? It wouldn't be that hard, would it?
No, it wouldn't. But obviously, some of our tracks over the years have been post and wire fence. So obviously, if we have wheel guards, which then alters the way you drive cars, because you could just feed people straight into a fence post, if that makes sense. But if you do that now with your open back wheel, you'll get a flat tyre.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably why they've never had the wheel guards on there for that reason, yeah.
Who's your favourite Superstock team? Somebody's asking, who's your favourite team, apart from yourselves?
Favourite team? I don't think I have a favourite team, to be honest. I just each year I watch who's doing what. Obviously I've been involved with the Rotorua team a lot of years. I enjoy, being in Rotorua, and I like all the lads there. So, I did like it when Rotorua won, I must admit, yeah. Rotorua, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same. I don't really have a favourite team. I think they're all fantastic just for getting out there and doing it, and just it's about the weekend, isn't it? It's about the hype. It's about but they ask the question, you've got to ask it, Frankie, otherwise I'll get bollocked for not asking it, you know what I mean? Logan Geddes asks, how pleased is Frankie for Matt Newson winning the World Cup in Holland last weekend?
Yeah, he's actually managed to get that monkey off his back, hasn't he? Obviously, to go so many years without winning a major championship, I couldn't imagine having to go through that, if I'm honest. He's been so close on quite a few occasions. So, yeah, it was good to see. I had a prop shaft failure. I was actually right behind him at the start of the race. I was in third. and I had a prop shaft failure, so we didn't finish. But yeah, no, it was good to see Matt win that. He puts a lot of effort in, same as I do. He's very similar to me in the way we race and what we do, the cars we take, the people we fetch into the sport. Me and Matt are quite similar on that, and he does a lot of work to keep the job going. And to see him with a major championship is it is good, yeah.
So you couldn't come on Tuesday because you're racing in Holland. So does that count towards the world final, or is that just you shooting off over there to have a race there?
No, that's it. Yeah, it's nothing to do with our world final, obviously. But we have the World Cup, which is run every year on invite again. Obviously, the top 6 drivers in the UK that go over are seeded in again on time trials, similar to what the Kiwis do for the world final. So we start on 3, 6, and 9 exactly the same. So yeah, and that's done every year. So we just popped over there and had a run in that. Yeah.
I see this question always gets asked. Have you raced any other classes, or would you race any other classes in the UK? Because I don't even know what's in the UK. Banger racing, maybe. I could see in one of them. And the same in New Zealand. They're mad, those buggers, mate. What about New Zealand? Obviously there's quite a good selection of super stock, super saloons. Is there any other class you'd ever want to have a crack at before you gave up and hung the helmet up permanently?
I don't think there probably is, really. I see a lot of the older drivers in NZ are now going to like super saloons. I have had to go in a super saloon a few years ago. I had to go in Mark Osborne's car. I did enjoy it, I've got to be honest. I did. It was all right. But, stock cars has been me from the day I turned 16, and it's just me through and through, unfortunately. I've never wanted to stray into anything else. I've never wanted to race anything else. I've just wanted to be the best I can be in an F1 stock car.
It always makes me wonder why you put all this money into cars and then you go out and race, and you could be winning the race right up to the very last corner, and all of a sudden you're taken out, and that's it. You just got to suck it up and move on, don't you? Does that type of thing frustrate you? It must do, surely. Even a broken, would you say, half shafts, all sorts of stuff. It must really frustrate you, eh?
Yeah, but that's just part of racing. That's the luck side of it that comes in. And like I said, my first ever world championship, I should have won. I had engine failure with 2 laps to go, and that was probably the lowest part of my career because I'd done everything. I'd won the race. The race was done, and then the engine failed with 2 laps to go. So, that to have that early on in my career was probably a good thing. It kicked me in the stomach and was like, wow, this is how low this job could be. But then you go and win the points the same season, and that was one of the highest points of my career. So you have highs and lows, and it's just part of being racing. That luckily for me now, because I've won so many major championships in my career, there's no expectation. There's no I don't have to win anything. As long as I'm involved, and I'm part of that championship, as in. Last season, the World Championship, the last one with Tom Harris, it was an absolutely superb race. Either of us could have won it, and that, I can't get any nearer than that, can I? It's part of it. If the day I'm going into a championship and I'm just battling to stop in the top 10 or whatever, then I'll be thinking about hanging my helmet up. But when I'm one of the top drivers in the sport, still, then definitely not.
That's it, isn't it? Whilst you're still winning and whilst you're still enjoying it, why wouldn't you keep going? There's no real reason to stop. There's a couple of sticky questions I'm going to ask. I don't know and understand what they're talking about, but you may be able to shed a bit more light on it. One's from Alex Gilroy Wright, who asks, do you feel F1 has been robbed of some good racing without Ryan Harrison these past 3 seasons?
Yeah, Ryan's a good competitor, but obviously, he did what he did, and what happened is what happened. He's a good competitor. He's one of the top drivers out there with Tom, and obviously, he's back out there now. He's building a lot of cars, and hopefully we can have some good racing with him. But yeah, it's never good to have a top player out the sport because we need the good racing. You need good racing every meeting you go to. We're there to entertain. It's what we do. And being at the top of a sport for 40 years, it's good to have these drivers out there. So, we have missed him for definite, yeah.
Don't think that was really for a New Zealand question, though. So it's obviously somebody that's got some sort of, I don't know, information in relation to that. Being you built 55R in England, could you modify a few F1 cars to get some sort of practice for teams champs at a local track so it gets the block guys a run before the big undertaking on the other side of the world?
Yeah, you very possibly could, but again, it comes down to time.
Money.
Our season finishes, and we basically have a few weeks to try and start on the cars to get them ready for the season after, because obviously we come to New Zealand for 4 to 6 weeks, and when we're back, we start racing. You've got a time scale lapse of time where you don't have that luxury. If we had the money and the backing to do all that, then yeah, of course you'd do that. But we just don't. So we just have to make do with what we do, and that's why we try and keep the same team together. Because obviously, them drivers then jump in them cars the season after they've got the aspect in their head. They know exactly what they're doing, and we go for it. So yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, your racing's your racing, and so the people that are asking the questions have the mentality of our style of racing, so they can't comprehend that that's not the way that you do things over there, I suppose, at the end of the day. But, hey, racing's racing, and, we'll watch, we've seen somebody advertise the live stream, so that's obviously you can watch all the events from this side of the world for those people that are interested anyway. So that's link is actually on that comment section, folks. So just save that somewhere, and that's how you go and buy it. It's a few pounds is like 5 million New Zealand dollars, so it might as well be anyway. So, is there any, Logan asks, is there any F1 championships you would like to win again? And if so, what would it be? Obviously the world title, but is there anything else there that tickles your tonsils?
Yeah, the National Points Championship again. We're starting the shootout on this Saturday. We start the shootout again. But yeah, just every title. I'm still hungry to win titles. That's why I do all this. That's why I work the hours that I work to keep the cars on the bloody track. Obviously, I'd love. It's kind of hard for me now because I don't know if I want me to win or Frankie to win or Phoebe to win. That's the problem when your kids come through the sport and get to the top of their game as well. And so obviously Frankie's just made superstar now in his normal racing, so he's right up there now. So yeah, it's satisfying for me to have the kids involved to be, when they're successful. I absolutely love it as I would as a parent, But obviously it's hard for me because I'm racing with them as well. So, but yeah.
Well, so I'd probably give up after my kids started passing me all the time.
Hey. You get used to it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Right, couple more questions. We've held you up for an hour, so I really appreciate this too, Frankie. What track is your favourite in the UK? This is Mikey asking this question. I know you enjoy Kings Lynn. Is there a particular track that's your favourite in the UK?
Not particularly, no, because we do it. I do every track, every meeting. But I do enjoy Kings Lynn when the track's good and they've got a good shale on it. Last couple of meetings, it's been a bit poor on shale, so there's not been a lot of drive there. But probably Kings Lynn as a stadium and everything about it, really. So yeah, I'd have taken Kings Lynn.
Righto, Frankie. It's 1 hour exactly, so thank you very much for your time. Is there anything you want to add? Like, obviously there's quite a lot of people watching and stuff, so, is there any information or anything you can add or anybody you want to thank or anything like that you want to do?
No, I think we're fairly covered, really. Just a massive thank you to everybody in New Zealand who's helped us out with the teams and everything. Like I said, it is a kind of part of my racing that I've concentrated on a little bit with Guy to try and win the teams, and we really want to do that. Obviously, we know that the undertaking it is for the New Zealand guys to provide the cars and how hard it is, but we just appreciate that massively. And obviously, there's a lot of work goes on behind the scenes. It's all right picking a team, and like you said, you've got your drivers and all that, but it's getting everybody there, getting the cars there, getting everything organised there. It's a massive undertaking. It's one thing that we've kind of looked at over the last few years. Your teams in New Zealand, there's probably 5 or 6 people in that team who just organise things for the teams. We don't have that, for each team. It's a big undertaking, and we're trying. Obviously we're not coming over there just to take part in the teams. We want to win it one year. We want to be the best team, and obviously that's what we're working hard to do. So just a massive thank you to them, a massive thank you to all the sponsors that I've had over the years over here and in New Zealand, and a big thank you to Stan and Sonia Hickey for all the help they've supported me in my career. Especially coming to New Zealand and winning the 240s so many times, and they've been right behind me for a lot of years. So thank you very much.
Must be a hard case when you go back home and somebody says to you, "What did you do in New Zealand?" "Oh, I went and got a car and rode it off and smashed everything up." People must look at you going, "What the fuck do they do over there?"
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, and then you try and explain to them what you do, or you show them what you do, and it's kind of hard. But once you get into it, it's just it's the best sport in the world by far, and you would never ever change my mind on that. And obviously, all the drivers that have been involved with it, the ex-drivers, the old drivers, the new drivers that are coming in, they know that, and that's why we're part of it.
We honestly, there's a lot of people, as I said, watching, and we all appreciate the fact that you guys make that effort to come over here, because it's like it truly makes it an international event. You're all characters. I've seen some of the way that you guys are and all that sort of, and that's why you're probably lovable, So, and on behalf of everybody watching, really appreciate you taking the time out, and also thank you for being a great entertainer over the years. It's been fantastic, and we look forward to many more years of Frankie and his team coming over. And I think all deep down we do want you to win teams. So, we all do. I do. It'd be just amazing, and I look forward to that day, and I'm sure it's coming, Frankie, and I hope it's in your time before you decide to hang up the helmet.
Yeah, thank you. We will be trying. Thank you.
All right, mate. We'll leave you to it. Thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you.
There we go, folks. There he is, the man himself, Frankie Wainman Jnr. And it's fantastic he came on and took some time out. It's not always easy to do that, so we'll let him go and get on with his day, because obviously a busy man. I'm off this weekend to Christchurch to do the second part of the Malcolm Nartai interview. So obviously that was a very well-received interview as well. So we're going to finish that one. And yeah, we'll catch you up. That'll be released probably Tuesday, Wednesday. And that's it really from me. So, hey, team, have yourselves a good weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you back.